Hello everyone! Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Julie and Todd Chrisley believe retrial will happen. Why? Todd and Julie Chrisley's hopes remain high despite approaching their first full month behind bars. The reality TV stars firmly believe they will be granted a retrial during their appeal process. A few weeks ago, their lawyer, Alex Little, sat down with ET to discuss what Todd and Julie were concerned with and why they were so hopeful justice would eventually be served. While this interview did technically happen a few weeks ago, their daughter Savannah just called attention back to the interview by sharing it on her Instagram profile in the past 24 hours. Why is it that Todd and Julie do not believe they'll be serving their full sentences behind bars? Scroll down for the details or to watch the 7-minute interview. Todd and Julie Chrisley firmly believe a retrial will happen. Why? As fans who have been following this story know, Todd Chrisley was sentenced to 12 years behind bars and reported to Federal Correctional Institution Pensacola in Florida for his sentencing. His wife Julie, on the other hand, reported to Federal Medical Center Lexington in Lexington, Kentucky for her 7-year sentencing. From the very moment they got convicted, Todd and Julie insisted they were innocent and framed for these crimes. Likewise, they insisted they were victims of an unjust system. Unfortunately, the couple were left with no options but to sit behind bars while the appeal process took place. Speaking to ET, their lawyer explains there were all sorts of issues with that took place during their first trial. He argues that the issue started at the very beginning when an unconstitutional search took place. According to Alex Little, nothing else should have come from this cause because of how the search was conducted. Todd and Julie Chrisley want the world to know they are the very same people they were before they ended up in this mess. In fact, the lawyer explained his clients have continued to hold on to their faith as they believe the truth will eventually set them free. Still, Todd and Julie can't help but worry about the villainous image the government has painted of them over this conviction. For Julie and Todd Chrisley, the past 2 years have been a dizzying descent from the pinnacle of reality TV stardom to the harsh realities of federal prison. Once adored for their southern charm, witty one-liners, and extravagant lifestyle showcased on Chrisley Knows Best, the couple now find themselves clinging to hope. Hope that a retrial could rewrite their story. The Chrisleys' journey has been nothing short of dramatic, filled with courtroom battles, public speculation, and emotional turmoil for their family. Yet despite the crushing weight of guilty verdicts and lengthy sentences, Todd serving 12 years and Julie serving 7, the couple's resolve has not wavered. From behind prison walls, both Julie and Todd have made it clear through their legal team and family spokespersons. They believe a retrial is not only possible but inevitable. The belief in redemption. For Todd, a man who built his empire on confidence and persuasion, the belief in a second chance is as natural as breathing. Friends close to the family say that his fiery personality hasn't dimmed even in confinement. Instead, he has reportedly become more vocal about flaws in the case that led to their convictions. Julie, always the quieter counterpart, has taken a more reflective approach. She is said to pray daily for justice, leaning on her faith to carry her through what she views as an unjust outcome. Her belief in a retrial is less about bravado and more about divine timing, an assurance that truth has a way of resurfacing, no matter how long it takes. Together, their voices echo a sentiment that has kept their supporters invested. This isn't the end of the Chrisley story. Legal loopholes and new arguments. One of the driving forces behind the Chrisleys' belief in a retrial is the emergence of alleged procedural missteps in their trial. Their legal team has argued that critical evidence was mishandled and that testimony from key witnesses was unreliable at best and tainted at worst. Reports have surfaced that the Chrisleys' defense intends to highlight inconsistencies in financial records, suggesting that the narrative of intentional fraud may have been overblown. According to those close to the case, their attorneys are preparing to argue that federal prosecutors relied heavily on testimony from individuals with questionable credibility, Individuals who may have had their own motivations for pointing
Another
fingers
layer
at
to
their
Todd
legal
and Julie.
strategy is the shifting legal landscape itself. With appeals courts across the country reassessing certain white-collar convictions, the Chrisleys see a potential opening to challenge aspects of their sentencing. If successful, such arguments could lead not only to a reduction in prison time, but also to the possibility of starting over entirely in a new courtroom. The family's role in the fight. The Chrisley children have been at the forefront of keeping their parents' hope alive. Savannah, in particular, has become the family's spokesperson, frequently updating fans on legal developments and her parents' spirits. Her determination to see justice served has been unwavering, even as she balances raising her younger brother, Grayson, and her niece, Chloe, in the absence of her parents. She knows the truth. One insider shared about Savannah. She's seen firsthand how things don't add up, and she's made it her mission to make sure people don't forget that. Kyle Chrisley, Todd's son from a previous marriage, has also spoken about the situation, noting that while he hasn't always had a perfect relationship with his father, he believes the conviction doesn't reflect the man Todd truly is. Chase, meanwhile, has offered quieter support, focusing on personal projects but remaining steadfastly aligned with the family's position that a retrial is not only fair but necessary. Public perception and the court of opinion. The Chrisleys' belief in a retrial also taps into the power of public opinion. For years, they entertained millions with their reality series, giving audiences a window into their glamorous lifestyle and relatable family squabbles. While some viewers turned away following the guilty verdicts, others have rallied behind them, convinced that the government's case wasn't as airtight as it seemed. Social media has become a battleground for this debate. Supporters post messages of encouragement, often tagging legal updates with hashtags like #FreeTheChrisleys and #JusticeForTodd and Julie. Critics, however, argue that wealth and fame shouldn't insulate anyone from accountability. Still, the Chrisleys know that public pressure can sometimes influence the pace and tone of legal proceedings. By keeping their story alive in headlines and on digital platforms, they ensure that their voices and their claims of injustice aren't drowned out. Faith as the foundation. At the heart of Julie and Todd's belief in a retrial is their unshakable faith. Both have long credited God as the guiding force in their lives, even when the spotlight casts shadows over their family's struggles. In prison, that faith has become an anchor. Letters exchanged between Julie and her children reportedly emphasize her trust in God's plan, reminding them that this chapter, however painful, is not the conclusion of their family's journey. Todd, known for his sharp tongue, has tempered his words in recent months, focusing more on scripture and messages of perseverance than on biting comebacks. For their supporters, this spiritual foundation strengthens the idea that a retrial isn't just a legal possibility, it's part of a larger divine story of redemption. What a retrial could mean. If granted, a retrial would thrust the Chrisleys back into the public eye in a way they haven't experienced since their sentencing. Courtrooms would once again become stages, with media outlets covering every motion, objection, and testimony. For the Chrisleys, it would be a second chance to rewrite their legacy, to convince not just a judge and jury but the nation at large that they were wronged. A successful retrial could lead to acquittal, a lighter sentence, or even a complete dismissal of charges. On the other hand, it could also result in the same outcome as before, prolonging their family's suffering. But for Julie and Todd, the risk is worth it, because the alternative is resignation, and that's something neither of them seems willing to accept. Holding on to hope. From reality TV stars to federal inmates, the Chrisley story is one of the most dramatic transformations in modern pop culture. And yet through it all, they remain resilient, convinced that the truth is still waiting to be heard. For now, Julie and Todd sit in their respective prison cells, separated by distance but united in purpose. Their letters, their prayers, and their unwavering hope paint a picture of two people who refuse to let their story end with a gavel strike.